Welcome to the video presentation on the ACT and university admissions in the United States. In this presentation, you'll become acquainted with the ACT and how it's used by colleges and universities in the United States. First of all, let's start out with an introduction of ACT Incorporated. The company ACT was established in 1959. It's a not-for-profit organization that's dedicated to serving students, parents, and educators around the world. Our mission is to help people achieve education and workplace success. Just a few of our education programs. We obviously have the ACT, which is the university entrance exam administered in about 140 countries worldwide. We also have our Plan and our Explore programs, which are the 8th and 10th grade versions of the ACT. In other words, they're the pre-ACT exams, and they're designed to measure if students are on track for college readiness and to help them prepare to take the ACT. We also have our Compass ESL placement tests, which are used by 2-year and 4-year colleges in the U.S. to identify the level of their incoming students and place them in appropriate level courses. First of all, what is the ACT? The short answer is that it's a U.S. entrance exam used by virtually every 4-year college and university in the country to evaluate students applying for their undergraduate programs. More specifically, it's a curriculum-based achievement test that explains to universities and colleges what students know and are able to do. And it also provides guidance to students on their future plans. So you might ask yourself, do I need to take the ACT? Well, most 4-year colleges and universities in the United States require students to take either the ACT or the SAT when they're applying to their undergraduate programs. The universities typically let the students decide which one to take. Every 4-year college and university in the United States accepts ACT scores. The ACT measures a student's ability to perform university-level work. More specifically, it has 5 sections: English, Math, Reading, Science, and Writing. Because the ACT is a curriculum-based test, performance on the ACT has a direct relationship to a student's educational achievement. In short, the ACT measures the core coursework that students are learning in high school and what they're expected to know when entering college or university. The philosophy behind the ACT is that we feel that the best way to measure a student's readiness for college education is to measure as directly as possible the knowledge and skill that students will need to know when entering college or university. We chose to base the ACT on the core curriculum because it takes the guessing out of preparing for university, and it serves as an easy roadmap for students to follow. Learn the core curriculum and you'll be ready for college. That means that students who take 4 years of high school English, 3 years of high school math, 3 years of high school natural sciences, and 3 years of social science in high school tend to be more college and university ready than students who don't take those courses, and tend to do better on the ACT as a result. Colleges and universities in the U.S. use the ACT for many reasons. They use it to recruit students. Frequently they search for students who get high ACT scores. They also obviously use it for making admissions decisions. They use it for academic advising. Now, because the ACT is a curriculum-based test, many colleges and universities also use it for course placement and to award course credit. And students with high ACT scores can qualify for merit-based financial aid. Earlier, I said that the ACT measures what students are expected to know when entering college. So you might ask, how can you say that? Every 3 to 4 years, ACT conducts a national curriculum study in which we consult with educators at the university undergraduate level, and we ask them what they expect students to know when they enter their first year of college. The results of that survey determine the content of the test. So you might ask, some of my friends are just taking the SAT, and I was planning to do the same. Isn't that enough? Well, sure, that very well might work for you. However, you might perform better on the ACT. Since U.S. universities and colleges accept both tests, it's important for you to select the exam that you are most likely to score better on. So then you might ask, well, is there really any difference between the ACT and the SAT? And yes, the ACT and the SAT are very different tests. First of all, the ACT has a science component, whereas the SAT does not. So students who are interested in science or who are planning on studying science in college, they might be able to differentiate themselves on the ACT. Also, the ACT math section tests up to a slightly higher level than the SAT math section. Both the ACT and the SAT start out at pre-algebra, and once they reach geometry, the SAT stops, while the ACT throws in 4 additional questions on trigonometry. So students who are particularly good at math or who may have taken a course in trigonometry might be able to, again, differentiate themselves better in math on the ACT than on the SAT. Both exams are accepted nationally by colleges and universities around the country. The ACT is primarily a curriculum-based test, whereas the SAT is more of a reasoning test. You may have heard of the PSAT, which is the pre-SAT test at the 11th grade. Well, the ACT also has a pre-ACT test, which is the plan at the 10th grade. And also the ACT includes a career interest inventory, which we provide for free. So you might ask, well, how popular is the ACT in the United States? As you can see on this map of the United States, there are red states, there are gray states, there are combination states, and there are white states. The red states are those states where more than 50% of students graduating from high school are taking the ACT. The gray states are where more than 50% of students in that state are taking the SAT. The combination pink and gray states are where more than 50% of students are taking both tests, and the white states are where fewer than 50% of the students are taking either test. So as you can see, the ACT is very popular in the entire midsection of the United States, whereas the SAT tends to be more popular on the east and west coasts. You can drill in a little bit deeper by looking at the numbers within each state. So for example, North Dakota, the top center of the United States, 81% of students in North Dakota are taking the ACT when they graduate, and only 4% of students are taking the SAT in North Dakota. Next state down, South Dakota, 79% of the students graduating from high school are taking the ACT, and only 3% are taking the SAT. In Illinois, 100% of students in Illinois are taking the ACT, and only 9% are taking the SAT. So you can look at all of the red states and see that the ACT is very popular in those states. And if you look at the gray states, you can see that the numbers are sort of flipped a bit. In all, about 50% of the high school graduates take the ACT, and about 50% of the high school graduates take the SAT. That's all fine, you might say, but do colleges and universities in the U.S. have a preference between the ACT and the SAT? And as you can see, the vast majority of colleges and universities in the United States accept both exams equally. This information comes from the Institutional Data Questionnaire, which goes to all colleges and universities in the United States every year. The questionnaire asks these colleges and universities more than 70 questions on the programs that they offer, the tuition and fees, the size of their campus, how many students they have on campus, and so forth. Now, one of the questions we ask them is whether they have a preference between the ACT and the SAT. And as you can see, the vast majority, 1,367 colleges and universities, say they accept both exams equally. A small number, 257, accepts both exams but prefer the ACT. A small number, 168, accept both exams but prefer the SAT. There are 8 colleges in the United States that accept only the ACT, and there are no colleges in the U.S. that accept only the SAT. But again, as you can see, the vast majority of colleges and universities in the U.S. accept both exams equally. But the Ivy League universities, they prefer the SAT, right? No, every single Ivy League institution indicated in their most recent Institutional Data Questionnaire that they accept both exams equally. How about those highly selective universities that have SAT subject test requirements? The majority of those will fully or partially waive the requirement for students who submit ACT plus writing scores. That means less testing for you. So with that background, now it's time to make a decision. Choosing which exam to take is an extremely important decision. It can impact whether or not a student gets into the college or university of their choice. They should not take it lightly. Again, since most colleges and universities in the United States accept both exams equally, students need to select the exam they are most likely to score better on. Great advice, you might say, but how can I best determine which exam is a better fit for me personally? Well, I can think of a couple ways. First of all, you might consider what type of student tends to perform well on one exam or the other. For example, students who work hard in class, do their homework conscientiously, and learn the material. In other words, those students with strong content knowledge, they tend to do well on the ACT. Students who get good grades in school without trying very hard, or at least it doesn't seem they're trying very hard, in other words, students with strong reasoning skills, they tend to do well on the SAT. So you might ask yourself whether you match one or the other of those profiles. Probably a better way for you to determine which test is better for you is to go to the ACT website and download a free practice test of the ACT. Go to the SAT website, download a free practice test of the SAT, and take them both. If you perform significantly better on one or the other, or if you prefer the format of one exam over the other, that's probably the one you should take for real. You can find links to both the ACT and the SAT practice tests on this slide right here. And Since the ACT and the SAT are scored on different scales, you can compare your scores on the practice test using the ACT-SAT concordance tables. So let's talk a little bit more about the content of the ACT. The ACT English test. Students are given 75 questions and 45 minutes in which to answer them. Spelling, vocabulary, and recall of rules of grammar are not tested. Here's an excerpt from a sample English question. As you can see, students are given a passage with certain portions of that passage underlined. Students are supposed to identify whether the underlined portions are correct as they are, and if so, mark no change, or if they're incorrect, identify which of the other three options for that question are correct. The ACT math test, as I mentioned, it goes from pre-algebra through trigonometry. Students have 60 questions and 60 minutes in which to answer them. The ACT reading test. Students are given 4 passages, each with 10 questions. The passages are in prose fiction, humanities, social studies, and natural sciences. The ACT science test. Now, you've heard me say throughout this presentation that the ACT is predominantly a curriculum-based test. Now, the science test is really the exception to that. It's more of a science reasoning or a science reading test. Students are given a passage, a science-related passage, a science-related table, and they're asked to answer questions related to that passage. All of the answers are in that passage or that table, so students who don't have a strong background in science can still perform well if they have strong reasoning skills. The ACT writing test. Students are given 1 prompt and 30 minutes in which to write about it. So for example, a student might be given a prompt that says, your school is considering implementing a school uniform policy whereby all students are required to wear a school uniform. Identify whether you agree or disagree with that new policy and support it. So you might say, I think it's a good policy. Let students focus on their studies and not on what everybody's wearing, and continue to support that. Or you might take the other side and say, I don't like that policy. I think it curtails students' individuality and their ability to express themselves creatively through their dress and so forth, and you write a little bit more about that. Well, you might ask, why is the ACT writing test optional? It's optional because not all colleges and universities use it. Currently, only about 16% of all colleges and universities will ask for it. So we decided it's not fair to charge a student extra to take the writing test if they're only applying to colleges and universities that don't require it. Students can go to our website, actstudent.org, to find out what the colleges and universities have told us about their writing requirements. We've discussed many different aspects of the ACT test and how it can assist you with your future educational goals. Hopefully you see how it can be an excellent tool for both students and universities. In Part 2, we'll show you how it can also serve as a resource for career planning as well.